What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about, can you daily drive a first generation BMW Z4? Short answer, yes. However, I'm biased. So let's talk about it and I'll give you the information you need to decide if that's something you'd like to do. Let's start with some numbers. The engine this thing has is a 3-liter inline 6 making about 225 horsepower, sending all that power to nothing but the rear wheels, as a sports car should. You can also get this car with a 2.5 liter inline 6, which makes about 180 horsepower, also to the rear wheels. They're rated, both of them, at about 19 miles per gallon. However, I receive about 15. Alright, now let's move on to the trunk space. So that's a big component of daily driving. You open the trunk by pressing this button right here. You open the hood by pulling the hood latch. You come back here. Boom. Not a terribly small trunk, as you can tell. I've got some random junk in here. But decently large. You can fit a small suitcase in here, maybe a couple other stuff on the side. Large enough. Let's get into the interior. Alright, so as you can see, pretty small in here. But roomy for something like me. I would recommend, if you're a bit taller, consider how short this thing is. Alright. Now let's go over some quirks and features, Doug DeMuro style. Alright, so I have an aftermarket radio in here. Easy to install. You get this kit right here. Boom, you got Bluetooth. You have automatic climate control, not dual zone, but it is automatic. You can set the temperature, hit auto. You have your windshield defroster right here, your rear windshield defroster right here. You do have heated seats. Yeah, like I was saying, you do get both heated seats in this thing. Here are your top controls. This goes up, this goes down. You get these buttons. You have an automatic, and mine, though you can get it in a 6-speed manual, this does have manual mode if you do get the automatic. You have a little sport mode button right here, which tightens up the steering, and the pedal feel, or whatever else it does, makes it feel a lot faster. Like, I feel way more of a difference in sport mode in this thing than I do in just about any other car I've driven. You do get a glove box, a small glove box, right here. Can't even fit my whole hand in here. Absolutely tiny. But to make up for that, you do get this net, and then you get a fairly large storage compartment right here. As you can see, it's quite large. It's pretty deep, and it goes to the side, and then you get a top shelf as well. And then you got speaker there, and you get speakers behind each of the seats. Makes for a pretty good sound system. The steering wheel, if you get an older model, you get no buttons. You do get cup holders here and there. However, both of mine are broken. You get your turn signals right here, as well as your bright headlights. Here are your headlight controls, auto, off, whatever. And then your fog lights. And this is how you raise and lower the brightness for your gauge cluster. You get your windshield wipers here. That does windshield wipers and really nothing else. And then if you press this button right here, you can cycle through information in the gauge. Time, temperature, average miles per gallon, range, average miles per hour, and time. And these buttons right here just change the time and whatever else you want to configure in there. But overall, it's a pretty well-equipped interior. You get leather seats. I've never seen one with cloth seats, and I've never seen one without heated seats. You get your handbrake here, also wrapped in nice leather. As far as material goes, it's a BMW, so it's pretty nice in here. Like, obviously, you get some plastic here. You get this plastic, but most of it, it all feels nice. The dashboard feels nice. The steering wheel's leather wrapped, feels amazing. Door cards are hard plastic, but don't feel bad. This is also a hard plastic, don't feel bad. It's a lot of hard plastics, but they're not terrible feeling hard plastics, at least. And then there's your rearview mirror. You also get some lights. So it's a fairly practical interior, sort of. Not terrible. Could be worse. I've seen worse. And for this next portion, we're going to take it on a drive and do a driving review for the rest of this. Now, Alright, so mine is not in the perfect condition, but when I bought it, it kind of was. So, some of the first things you notice when driving this thing is that it's bumpy and it's loud. Mine's louder because my top's not down all the way, so it makes wind noise, but even without that, it is loud in here. You hear road noise, you hear tire noise, you hear and feel every little bump you go over. I will be completely honest about that. That part's not great, but most car guys don't really give too big a shit about that when the car makes up for it by being fun. Sometimes when you go over big bumps, steering wheel tries to get away from it. But you do get really good response. It's very responsive to your touch, to your wheel. Every time you move the wheel, the car is going to move. Now you can put this car through corners better than you'd expect to be able to in a way. And you put your foot down and you feel that 225 horsepower. Now this isn't a car that's fast. This car's not super fast, 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds, something like that. This is the bigger engine, more horsepower, 225. It's a healthy-ish number, but it's really not that fast. Most common traffic has got to give you a run for your money in this thing. However, this don't feel like a Camry. Even if the Camry's faster, this feels faster. It feels fast. The noises it makes, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it genuinely just, I guess because of how small you are and how low you're sitting, it genuinely does just feel quite fast. We're going to go around this roundabout this way. Then you put it in sport mode. And it really does push you back into your seat. And that steering tightening up in sport mode really does make a difference. Like you're sitting here feeling feedback. It almost feels like genuine haptic feedback from a racing center or something. Like you're on a racetrack, and then you can hear it more in sport mode versus in not sport mode. And then manual mode is responsive. It's fun. It shifts when you tell it to shift. It downshifts when you tell it to shift. Everything you want a manual mode to do. Sorry, the lighting's not great. The sun's in a shitty spot for today. But other than that, it genuinely is a great car. And in terms of daily driving, you're going to get shitty gas mileage. You're only going to be able to take one of your friends somewhere, because it's only a two-seater. You're not going to be able to fit a truckload full of groceries. So now that sounds like a shitty daily driving experience. However, as someone that daily drove this car for a long period of time, it makes up for it. If you don't need the extra room, then it really is okay. It's not a big deal. Because it's fun. And this is a car that will put a smile on your face so fucking fast. All in all, I've driven a lot of cars. I work for a dealership. Mainly what I do is drive different cars all day long. I detail. And I would happily give this car a 10 out of 10 rating. Now possibly I'm biased for that because it is my car. But at the end of the day, people love Miatas, right? Because they're small. They might be slow, but they're small, they're nimble, and they're insane in the corners. This is what people like to call a Miata in a suit, because it's a Miata that actually has a decent amount of power. You're over 200 with the 3-liter. You get leather seats. You can still get an old school manual, 3 pedals. You get heated seats. I don't think you can get that in first generation Miata, at least not that I've seen. So the real comparison to this car wouldn't be a Miata in my eyes. I'd compare it more to an S2000. Really, when this car came out, it was more in the same bracket as a Porsche Boxster. But I can't compare it to that. I've never driven that. I've never driven a
S2000 either. However, I feel like the S2000 and this car are more similar than the Boxster, because the Boxster is mid-engine, rear engine, whatever it is. But this car, I don't even really have much else to say. I mean, it's just great. If you want a fun car, a fun cheap car, because you can get these things for $6,000. Cheaper than that, I've seen. If you want to get the 2.5, it's cheaper. I've seen 2.5s in good shape go for $3,000. And I think eventually car guys, and maybe even a future classic right here, people will learn to love these first generation Z4s, because they really are truly Miatas in a suit. They're fun, just like all people love Miatas. Every reason that people love a Miata for, you can love this car for. And even more so, because it actually has some power from factory. Now, this motor, there's not really much you could do to it in terms of building power, because BMW kind of forced all the power they could out of the factory. However, you can go the forced induction route. There's a supercharger kit for it. I've seen some people turbo it. The supercharger kit's easy, bolts on from ECS Tuning, and pushes you to like 350 horsepower, which seems like an insane number for that. And I will have a review on that supercharger kit at some point, whenever I can afford to throw $5,000 in the trash for my car. That's not even my daily driver anymore. And I guess that really shows you. It's a good daily driver, it is. But it does break. These things are not reliable. At least not in my experience. Now, I will say the M54, the motor that's in this car, is a tank. For sure, it is a tank from hell. I have never had any motor issues. I've had suspension issues, I've had cooling system issues, I've had interior issues, I've had top issues, but I've never had actual motor issues from this car. Knock on some wood. But it really is a tank, and I'd say it's one of the most reliable engines that BMW has ever made. Genuine, and they use this engine in a lot of cars. But that's really all I have to say for this thing. I'd say if you're looking for a cheap, fun sports car that makes fun noises, gets you to get the top down, or you can get it in the hard top. I just think the hard tops are funky looking with these things. Consider the Z4. I'm not going to say you got to do it, but consider it. It's a great car to consider that a lot of people don't. And because of that, it's unique. You don't see a lot of these riding around. I've only seen a few in the couple years I've had this car. But that's all I got to say. Hope you enjoyed the review. Goodbye, peace out, and subscribe to SBS.